Welcome aboard, all you ground troops spinning around smartly on the planet. We're excited to have you with us. Thank you for joining us. We always try to help make the world a better place and interstellar, and we're all about cosmos connection. And today we've got, well, tonight we have Rick Doty, and Rick Doty is Richard Doty, very, very well-known gentleman from prior military and intelligence, and we're very excited to have him because he's so well known that for the past 20 to 35 years he's been actually devoting a lot of his time to disclosure. He's worked with some wonderful famous people, and we're going to let him talk about all of this today, and then he's going to allow me to ask various questions. Now, I know a lot of you people want to ask questions, and that's one of his big deals. But we can do that later, because this is going to be a very short and quick hour just to get some history online for Ace Folk Life and, of course, UFO Association. So we're going to get started. Rick Doty, being that you have been known as Richard Doty for so long in the UFO business, I learned about you way back in the day, and I was just coming into intelligence and investigations myself. So you want to start with, give us a little background on you know, like where you're born, and work up to, you know, high school, college, and a little bit of your education for those that don't know you, please. Uh-oh, your mute's off. Uh-oh.
Okay, Drew, I got it.
Oh. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Teresa. Thanks for having me. Yeah, my name is Richard Doty. I was born in upstate New York. My father was in the military. We travel a lot around. I went to a number of different schools, a lot of Catholic schools, parochial schools. And then I graduated from high school and in Pennsylvania, and immediately entered the military. My father was still in as a colonel. I was trained as a combat controller initially. Then I served my regular active duty time in the Air Force. I went to college, Pacific Lutheran University, Tacoma, Washington, then recruited into the intelligence community. I went to intelligence operations course in the DC area, a number of other intelligence courses, counterintelligence, counterespionage. And then I was assigned to the Air Force Office of Special Investigations as a special agent at Kirtland Air Force Base in near Albuquerque, New Mexico. And that was in 1978. And then from that point, I was a counterintelligence officer for the base. And what we did was we protected operations, mostly classified operations that were occurring within the Air Force. We protected them in a number of different ways. We formulated plans, programs, and operations to keep the secret program secret. And we also investigated any kind of espionage threats against those highly classified special access programs. And so that was my job as a AFOSI agent. And that's what I did throughout my career, which lasted from 78 to 88. And then from that point, I got out. And then I eventually went to work for Dr. Putoff at the Institute for Advanced Studies in Austin, Texas. I worked there from 94 to 2007. And I was a technical advisor to Dr. Putoff. I was a field operative, too. I went out and collected information for him. We had a number of DARPA contracts. I had a security clearance there, and we did some really unique things there at the Institute, a lot of which I can't talk about because it's proprietary. But after 2007, I kind of went on my own. I worked for a number of film companies, many film companies over the years. I was on set for a number of movies. The most recent would be Arrival. I also, going back a little bit, I wrote some storylines for the X-Files back in the 90s. Now, there was a posting someplace. I didn't write any scripts for the X-Files. I just wrote storylines or ideas for the episodes, and I think I contributed to 16 different episodes over the several years that the X-Files were on TV. And then after 2007, I did a number of different things, working for other movie companies. In 2017, I started working for Gaia in Boulder, Colorado. I was a guest on Cosmic Disclosure with Emery Smith, and I've been there ever since for the last 7 years. But I've also went on and made some, we created a program called the Doty Chronicles, where I sit and talk about incidents that happened years ago, not necessarily what I did, but what other people have told me, or other intelligence officers related in classified settings. And so and right now I'm trying to push disclosure, and I think we're as close to disclosure now than we ever been. I know some people will argue with me on that point, but I think we are. I think eventually, after this election year, we're going to see some form of disclosure. So I think that's pretty much my background in a nutshell for you, Teresa.
Wow. I'm getting some feedback. I'm not sure where. Let me know if you hear it. Everybody's got theirs on mute. Okay. Well, I guess we should get started with it. Now, that's your history, and most of your training was in intelligence. And a lot of people don't know the difference between, like you said, in civilian clothes and military. Like maybe, can we go through like the GS up to 18, or maybe more for scientists and wage grade or OPM? Can you help us out with things like that? Just simple, talk about classified, because a lot of things are really misunderstood these days. I'd like to help out in the disclosure movement with the misinformation, information, and disinformation. And I thought you'd be the perfect one to do that. So you spent time both ways, plus on DARPA contracts. So you could explain to people how the contracts work. And that's not classified. So
yeah, sure. That's true. OSI agents are do not have a military grade. They're not in uniform. They're in civilian clothes. There's two sides to an OSI agent. He could be a military person, but he has a rank of a civilian or a GS, anywhere between 9 and 13. Civilian supervisors are normally GM 14s or 15s. And so that's the way the rank structure or the operation of a special agent with an OSI works. Every intelligence officer. Well, let's go back to OSI. OSI has several branches. They have a criminal investigations branch, similar to the FBI. In fact, give you a little history on the AFOSI. AFOSI was created after the National Security Act was created in 1947. 1948, January 1948, Carroll, who was the assistant director of the FBI, was loaned to the OSI to create OSI after the FBI. He was given a rank, honorary rank of brigadier general, and he created the OSI. And from that time in early 1948 until present day, OSI has been the investigative, the counterintelligence and intelligence arm of the United States Air Force. Currently right now, there's about 4,000 personnel within the AFOSI. The unique thing about the Air Force Office of Special Investigation, it isn't under any Air Force rank structure or control. OSI reports directly to the Inspector General of the United States Air Force on most issues. And directly to the Secretary of the Air Force on most intelligence issues. So there's no command structure on the base. OSI agents are on the base, but they don't report to the base commander or the wing commander. They occasionally brief the wing commander and the base commander on operations within the intelligence arena. But as I said earlier, OSI has several different branches, one being a criminal investigations branch, meaning that they investigate crimes occurring on the Air Force base or involving Air Force personnel or Air Force property. After 1987, OSI becomes a federal law enforcement agency. It's not a military agency. It's a federal law enforcement agency. All agents are trained at the Federal Law Enforcement Academy, Glencoe, Georgia, and then go through various different schools. And I did the same thing. I went through Glencoe, and then just for the basic course, then I went to a counterintelligence branch of the Air Force, and then that involved going to a intelligence operations course, very, very, very demanding and tough course, a counterintelligence course and a counterespionage course, some taught by CIA, some taught by the DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency. The AFOSI has other branches such as fraud, and they have a computer crimes branch, forensics, OSI agents and criminal agents on a base, also acts as the medical investigators for any kind of murder that occurs on a base. But I wasn't involved in any of that. I was strictly a counterintelligence officer on the base, and I operated guarding and protecting special access programs. Now, you bring up a good point, Theresa, about misconceptions in the civilian community on what classification, what is classified, what isn't classified, how people have access to different classifications. First of all, the classification authority of the Air Force or the military is the lowest classification is confidential, then it becomes secret, and then top secret. And each category, each one of those have a category to itself, such as secret and top secret could be restricted data, meaning anything dealing with atomic energy or anything under the Atomic Energy Act, whether it's the old Atomic Energy Act of 1954 or Title 42 United States Code, which is a newer Atomic Energy Act, anything pertaining to atomic energy or weapon systems is protected under a special classification called restricted data. Now, the neat thing about the Atomic Energy Act is none of the information in the Atomic Energy Act is governed under FOIA, meaning you can't get any FOIA. You can submit a FOIA request to the Department of Energy, which is the predecessor to the Atomic Energy Commission, but you're not going to get anything because it's exempt from the FOIA. Now, we'll talk about this a little later, but that's a good place to hide UFO information because you can't get it. And I'll explain some of that later. But another misconception is just because a person has a top secret security clearance and special compartmented information, SCI, meaning they have access to everything that's classified. That's false. You only have access to what you need to know. The key words is need to know. If you're working in a project and it's classified under a special access program or a SAP, the information that you must work with is on a need-to-know basis, and that's what you get access to. You still have to have a high-level security clearance and SCI based on an expanded background investigation, but that doesn't mean you have access to everything there is within that special access program. For instance, at Area 51, I worked out there. I had access to a number of different special access programs, but only the information that I needed to know. I didn't know everything about those programs, and that's how it works within the government. And the misconception is, if a person has a top secret security clearance, I should be able to ask him anything because he knows it all. No, that's not true. He only knows what he has a need to know to work within that particular operation or project or mission. And DARPA, when you talk about DARPA,
TheresaJMorris.
Excuse me, I don't know where that came from. I apologize.
Okay, DARPA DARPA controls all special access program contractors. Now, what the military will do is they'll present a contract to DARPA. They'll want a contract with a civilian contractor, and every single contract involving classified material has to go through DARPA. DARPA is a contract administrator for every single special access programs. And what DARPA will do is they'll go out and find a contractor like Lockheed or Raytheon or one of the Boeing, Grumman, and then they'll give them the contract. And when they do that, there's special procedures that must be abided to by the contractor, and that's under what we call the Department of Defense Regulation 5200.1, which is the Industrial Security Manual, meaning everything dealing with classification has to be protected by that company, whether it be Lockheed or Boeing or what. And also within that company, within Boeing or Lockheed, there's an OSI agent assigned there, and they're called special projects agents. And I was in special projects, and their goal is to protect the highly classified special access programs from espionage or being released. And they have enormous powers, those agents within these companies, to protect that reverse, whether it's a reverse engineering of an alien propulsion system or whatever it is. They have to make sure that contract is thoroughly administered and protected by law. And there's a number of laws that protect it, not just Title 18, but Title 50. Most, if not all, of the special access programs are governed under Title 50 of the United States Code, which protects them. And there's penalties for people that releases or unauthorized access to that type of information. So I think that's pretty a nutshell in the classification authorities that OSI governs and the way the military operates. And also a document could be top secret, and only a small portion of it would actually be top secret. When you look at a document, you'll see a marking on top, a downgrading instruction, a top secret control number, which is a set number that controls that document and the document only, a sign sheet. Everybody has access to that to sign it. And if you read through that document, it may be 80% secret and maybe 20% unclassified or for official use only. But the highest classification of the information contained in a document must contain the highest classification on the document. So if there's only 4 paragraphs in a 100-paragraph document that's top secret, then the document has to be top secret. And that's the way it operates in accordance with governmental regulations on the classification. And that's covered under the Code of Federal Regulations 32, Code of Federal Regulation Title 32.
Okay, so things haven't changed as far as you know in the last 20 years.
No, you know, I got out in 2007, at least from DARPA business, and everything was the same. We would have to get briefings every now and then, and to the best of my knowledge, it's the same. Now there may be some parts of it that have changed, but for the most part, that's the way it operates still.
I know cybersecurity is different, but you mentioned a few things that people may or may not know. And you know, when we mention acronyms, we need to go back and clarify them. So, you know, you want to share DIA and CIA and anything else you may have mentioned? Just the acronyms for those?
Yeah, CIA, Central Intelligence Agency. They're the number one agency that collects foreign intelligence. That's outside the boundaries of the United States. They're exempt from. I mean, they cannot collect intelligence from within the United States, with exception of what was granted to them under the Patriot Act of 2001, and it has to do with terrorist information, meaning that if there's a terrorist that the CIA knows about that could operate in the United States, and the CIA has some authority to monitor that information. But in the most part, everything that's collected in the realm of intelligence for the United States of America is done by the CIA outside the United States. The Defense Intelligence Agency is a military branch. It controls all the military intelligence agencies or units report to the Defense Intelligence Agency. Now, they can operate in the United States, and they're limited to collecting data on foreigners or collecting data that relates to the military, a military base or military personnel or contractors that work on a base or something to that effect. And then the only way they can collect on civilians would be if the civilian worked on a base, or the person is a wife or a spouse of a military person. They can collect data on them, but just an ordinary U.S. citizen, Defense Intelligence Agency, and I'll say this, they're not supposed to collect on civilians. Now, I know there's been a number of incidents where they were collecting. You know, there was a classical case 15 years ago in Virginia where they'd had actually a bug in a civilian house, but there was a reason for that, and actually it was being controlled by the FBI. Within the United States, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Foreign Counterintelligence Division, is responsible for collecting intelligence within the United States. Now, the only other agency that collects intelligence, data intelligence or signal intelligence, is the National Security Agency. Now, they can collect data from phones coming into the United States and anything outside the boundaries of the United States. Now, the Congress just passed a law. They actually just approved the continuation of a law that collects cell phone data coming into the United States. So, for instance, if you're in the United States and you have a friend in, say, Great Britain or Germany, I have many friends in Germany. I spent time there and I speak German. And you're having a phone conversation with them. Guess what? Everything's collected and stored in a database in Utah. Now, are the governments going to go in and collect that data? No, not unless there's some reason that they're looking at me or looking at the person that I'm talking to in Germany or wherever it is. Now, and this is to protect the United States against terrorists, setting up bases or facilities inside the United States. So just imagine if a Taliban in Afghanistan was calling some person in Minnesota and talking about in Arabic or Pashto or Dari or one of the languages spoken. That's something that the computers within NSA immediately key on, and they're going to record that. And by the time that telephone conversation is over with, whether it takes 5 minutes or 25 minutes, everything is collected and translated. And that's real-time stuff that occurs within the National Security Agency, and that's to protect us. So there is the NSA. There's an NRO, the National Reconnaissance Office. They control every satellite that's put in space, with exception of what is being controlled by the United States Space Force, the brand new, well, new in a few years ago, new branch of the military. They control military intelligence satellites. NRO controls most others, other satellites. So that's the three-letter agencies. There are some others that are not that important. You know, you got the ATF, I'll call it the Tobacco Farm. You got the DEA, Drug Enforcement Administration. They do collect intelligence, but only relating to criminal intelligence, not national intelligence.
Well, I guess we better get started into the ET talk.
Okay.
I wanted to give people a briefing because not everybody understands, and it's not even close to what we need to understand. But yeah, please put on your glasses if you'd like. Folks,
Yeah.
we're in the over 50 group.
Yeah, we are.
And Aunt Clara is at 80, but we won't go there. Not quite yet. All right, so let's talk about, did you know, or do you agree that Bob Lazar worked for Naval Intelligence?
Well, what I do know is I'm a member of the Advanced Working Group, and we several years ago we obtained a access log for the Nellis Test and Training Range that was dated for January 1st, 1979 to December 31st, 1980. I mean, 1990. So there was a 10-year period there. Every person that had that is a huge document. The old dot matrix printer sheets. Every person that worked within the Nellis Test and Training Range, with exception of one particular area, and that's Tonopah. There was another access log for that. But anyways, everybody that had access, his name was listed in there. We obtained that from somebody, and of course, we immediately looked for our name to make sure our names are in there, the people that have worked out there. But Bob Lazar's name is in there.
Ah, very good.
But it doesn't list. Here's the problem with that. It doesn't list him working for the Office of Naval Intelligence. It lists him working for Los Alamos.
Oh,
now, here's the thing about Los Alamos. There were time periods when Los Alamos laboratories had contract services that provided certain work details within the Nellis Test and Training Range. And one of them was janitorial services. And so that company that was contracted to Los Alamos, if you worked for that company, it showed that you were working for Los Alamos, but it gives you it shows the clearances on this roster. Now, his name is in there, but for a very short period of time, I think from March of 87 to I think July of 87, not a long period of time. That's to the best of my knowledge, although I didn't look at every single entry in that 1,000-page document. That's the only place that I saw Bob Lazar. But there were a lot of people on that roster that were had limited access to Area 51. So just because your name is on there doesn't mean you had access to every place on there. The roster is split up with a name, your last name, first name, middle initial, a rank or a grade or a position if you're saying a CIV, if you're a government employee, a GS, whatever. If you're a wage grade, it'd be a WG, a military rank. Then a code for the security clearance, and then a code for the area that you're authorized to work in. And they're letters. So if he's authorized to work in the cantonment area where everything was located at Groom Lake or Area 51, he might have a T, a Y, and a C, meaning he could go to those different areas. But he only had one letter, meaning he only had access to one part of the cantonment area. Now, cantonment area is where you actually live. There's a dining facility there. There's a clinic there. There's a small store there. The dormitories are there. So you have access to all those places within there. But then the area is split up. Like, for instance, S2 is away from the cantonment area. S2 Annex, Bravo 6 area, or the number of different areas. They would list those as where you would have access to. Now, if you had access to every place on there, you had a G2, meaning you had general access to everything, and then the 2 was a designation for whether you could actually get inside or whether you just maybe a passing access to drive through there. You got a G1 and a G2. I had a G1 access, meaning I could go through any area. I didn't necessarily could get into the buildings, but I could go into those areas. And so that's the way this roster was split up. Now, where's the roster right now? Okay. We, during the, when Harry Reid was still in the Senate, or just before he got out of the Senate, he wanted us to verify the authenticity of the roster. And so we did. And we got some former commanders out there, former commanders of the Nellis testing range, all Air Force personnel, a colonel, and 2 brigadier generals. And they said, yeah, this is the real thing. You got the real thing. Now, how we got this is a story that I can't talk about. So, anyways.
Can't know it all, right? We can't know it all.
Right. And so we ended up, because of the Whistleblower Act and because of the whistleblowers and because of Congress, we loaned that roster to the DODIG, the Department of Defense Inspector General's office. They currently have that right now. Now, whether we get it back or whether it goes public, that's up to them. But we felt that it would be in the best interest of the authentication of it to give it to the government rather than us keeping it and saying it's authentic. And that wasn't done by me. It was done by somebody else within our group. So
are we allowed to say who we are?
Yeah, I'm a member of the Advanced Working Group. It's a private group of retired intelligence officers, mostly retired intelligence officers, are some retired military personnel within this group. We've been in existence since 2002, and we work to facilitate disclosure. And we meet with a semi-private group. There's some people that know about us, and there's some that don't. I mean, most that don't or don't know the particular people within our group. But we're out there. We most of the higher echelon people within the group living around, mostly, not all of them, around the Washington, D.C. area. And I'm talking about Virginia, Maryland, southern Pennsylvania, northern Carolina, northern part of North Carolina, and some in West Virginia. But they're the ones that actually are controlling group. We meet periodically, and we want to form disclosure. One of the funny things about this roster that I talk about, it's called the entry control log for Nellis Test and Training Range / Nellis Test Range, because it was both. They changed the names. There's a very popular person that name appears in this log, and his name is Art Bell.
Oh
now,
my gosh, Art got on the list. I didn't even get on the list, and I knew went in, and it doesn't matter. But oh my God, really?
Well, we really did research this because Art was passed away, but we really had to research why Art Bell's name was on it, and it was early, and we're talking in the 80s, okay? Yeah. We're talking the late 70s, early 80s, up to the 90s, early 90s.
That's
well, here's why. Art Bell was hired by the United States Air Force to set up a radio station on Groom Lake. Now, Art didn't have any security clearance. He had to be escorted, but he did have access. And what he did was he set up all the paperwork, all the requirements for a Federal Communications Commission license and all these things for the Air Force to set up a radio station, a civilian radio station on Groom Lake. And he did that.
Yeah.
And when he was done, he lost his access and he left. So that's why Art Bell's name's on there. And I think it's kind of funny because I was actually in a room when somebody yelled out, Art Bell's name's on this. And I thought, and I knew Art really, really well.
Oh, wow. But he lived in Tonopah when he passed, right?
Pardon?
Didn't he still live in Tonopah area up there when he died?
Pahrump. He lived in Pahrump.
Pahrump. Yeah.
Pahrump. Yeah. And I said, what? And so, we looked at it and we figured it was the same person because there's a date of birth in there. And it was easy to figure it out. But then we figured out why. We contacted his old partner and his wife and daughter, and we figured it out. So that's why Art's name is on there. And we verified a lot of people that claimed to be there, and there was there. I mean, did work there, like however you want to call Burrish or Crane.
Burrish, yeah. Dan Burrish.
Yeah, Dan Crane. He's listed in there as having access. So we know that he was legitimate. Burrish's name not there, but he used both names, but Crane's name is on there. And so other people, and then there's some people that claim to work out there that's not on the list, but I'm not going to go into that. But
let's talk about visiting and TDY orders and coming in a dark night, coming and going. When I was there and we came on the airplane into Vegas, and we didn't take the bus or Janet Airlines or wherever you went at the time, there was people that would try to point you out whether you were working there or not. So that wasn't pleasant. But let's say if you know about people that can come in with a colonel or full whatever, and bring you at night. And most of the things that I did around were midnight or after, in dark clothes and coming and going. How do you explain those? Do they have a roster for that you know about?
Well, I don't know what occurred after 1990. There are people that work out there currently. It's all automated system out there now. There's a lot of bio biometrics to get in. And so there's different access procedures to get in now than it was back in those days. But I can remember the first time, I can tell you a story. I was given TDY orders to go to, and it wasn't Groom Lake or it wasn't Area 51. On your orders, it gave a code.
Right.
I think it was special site
too. You don't know.
Yeah, special site alpha, and what tells you what it on the orders it said you report to building such and such at Nellis Air Force Base for assignment to site special site alpha, alpha Juliet AJ, and so that's all you know. So I fly out to from Albuquerque to Vegas. I had a rental vehicle. I get a rental vehicle. I go to Nellis, this room, this building. I go in. I have all my OSI credentials and badges. I get in. I get a briefing, and I get entry control badge and procedures. Where I have to go in. Now I'm driving. I've never been there before. Okay. So and back in those days, the roads are worse than they are now.
They're not. They were great back. I mean, late 2000s. So
I went through the southern. I went through Nevada, the Nevada test site entrance. Now, the Nevada test site is where all the nuclear weapons were tested back in the 40s, 50s. 60s, 70s, 80s, up to 90s, underground after 1961. It's still operating then now, but back then in those days it was still an active nuclear nuclear storage area and also a testing area. I get there. I leave Vegas real early. It's a 60-mile drive up there. I get into the gate about 8 o'clock in the morning. I show them all my credentials. And they said, okay. And I said, okay, hold on a minute. I've never been here before. I need to get here. He said, well, that's 80 miles away. He said, why are you coming through this gate and not coming through their main gate? I said, well, this is where my orders tells me to. So he said, well, you go up all the way up. You go all, and he tells me you get to 500, gate 500. You go in, you get back in. And anyways, I get there. It takes me about 2.5 hours to drive up there. I get to the building that I'm supposed to. The OSI office was building 432. That was the building on Groom Lake for OSI. I got there, reported in. There was another agent that was assigned there from Edwards Air Force Base, which is in California. He did the same thing I did. He drove, but he came in through the main gate or the gate just north of Rachel. Well, it still has a long drive down once you get into the gate. We kind of meet up at the same time, and we tell our horror stories about getting there and driving all this way. And I don't know much about this base except what I was briefed in Nellis. They gave me some briefing. But when I got there, I had to go through the entire Special Access Program briefings. And now it wasn't just one briefing because there was different special access programs. So I went through 10 different briefings on one day, and they were 15, 20-minute briefings. The second day I went through 2 more, which lasted a couple hours each. And so now I know, oh my God, this place is, this is something else. And so and then from that point on, I did my job there. And I was replacing somebody who had gotten sick. And because of my position at Kirtland and the fact that I had SCI and an SAP clearances and the fact that I had been briefed in to a special access program, they chose me, and I was also in the special projects branch of OSI, and that's how I got there. So that's my story of how I first got there. And then a few months later, I went back there.
Well, I can tell you're telling the truth. But in the meantime, there's so much I wanted to ask you, and I haven't asked you anything. But the thing is, you're a good speaker, and we need to know this stuff. And this is open source intelligence that anybody and anywhere in the world can hear, because it'll be like out there forevermore. We don't even know where it all goes. I don't even know if NSA knows anymore where it all goes. So we don't know, folks. You know, all we do is use our social media and hope that we're hearing YouTube is owned by Google, and we know Facebook is who that is. So that's our mainframe lately, it seems to be. And of course, we have iHeart and all those other things out there that I do. I've done for years with radio. But going back to Art Bell, you know, folks, we need to come forward with all this. But I love to talk the nostalgia, and we're just talking basic need to know information for our officers in the UFO, really the UAP associates now. And so Rick Doty, in his position, to me, he was like Dr. Bruce Maccabee. He had a lot of intelligence. Now, Dr. Bruce Maccabee offered, you know, with me and Gulf Breeze, and we had the pros and cons. And, you know, he and I was pro, even though we know how the other thing was done and the bad press and the kids. We know the whole story if anybody wants to know that side. But, you know, I couldn't argue with people. I moved to Gulf Breeze and lived there 7 years. So things can be real and be like balloons for, well, they can be found little styrofoam cups making a UFO in the wall of a house sold, which is what happened to Gulf Breeze. So you've got to have an open mind and see both sides of our ET talk. Because alienology, ufology, and there's a lot of stories built on top of truth and people that want to take out the truth. So Rick is sort of one of those guys that was known back in the day, and I've seen some of the movies he's been in. But listen, I want to get into some strange sound.
We're losing you, yeah.
It went away. That was
weird. Now you're loud and clear.
That I've never heard anything like that before. Okay, that just sounds like people working on pots and pans. With you, I would like to get you where you need to be, because everyone knows now that as much if you've done with Gaia, what do you want to say, 189 and ancient aliens in history. But how did you sign up first with your book? Gosh, I want to get so much history. I swear I'd love to have you back, Richard Doty, because there's so much we could cover about who you are and how important your position's been in all this. But I know some people are want to get to the famous name of Benowitz. And I pretty much know the truth, but because you told me the truth as much as you could a long time ago, many years ago, when I was getting into the ET radio business. And then you had to go out and you were working on a book, or somebody else that started a book, and I was going, well, I would like to do a book with you. He's like, well, I can't do a book with you because I've already got this book. But I'm not saying I won't do a book, but you got a contract with somebody out in Hollywood. So I don't know how to explain all this, but you've become pretty well known. Brenda is, there's something inside the StreamYard. It's stop. I don't know what that is. Rick, where do you want to go with this? Because I want to list. You have made, like, if you started with one number on Gaia, 179.
Well, I started in 2017 with Gaia. They one of the producers up there contacted me and said, hey, you know, you're a popular person within the UFO arena, and we were starting this show called Cosmic Disclosure. At that time, it was with Corey Goode, and we all know about Corey Goode, and we're not going to talk about that. But I said, so I went up and extremely thorough vetting of me. They, you know, I fill out the paperwork. They did a background on me. They thoroughly vetted me before they would allow me to come on and do a program. And so I came on and did the first, I think, 6 episodes. And I was asked to come back, and then I signed a contract. And I've been there 7 years doing, like I said, over 200 episodes on Cosmic Disclosure with Emery. Well, not all of them are with Emery Smith. I've done some with Jimmy Church. I've done some by myself. I've done some with Tim. Tim is a German intelligence officer. We've done some in German, complete German.
Wow.
Because I was a German linguist at one time. And then and I've appeared on a couple other shows. And that doesn't count the number of Ancient Aliens, the History Channel. I've done 30 or 40 episodes. I've been on 3 movies. The Arrival movie, which was the story of these crafts that landed, and these extraterrestrials didn't look like normal humanoids. That's a movie that I think we rewrote the script 4 times to get it as authentic as we could, and there were other people working, not just me, and I'm very proud of that. And other movies. I'm currently right now with another production company and we're going to be making a movie that is we're going to film. We just had a meeting out at Hawaii. We're going to be filming in Hawaii, and then it won't come out until probably 2026. The movie, very prominent producer and movie maker, and then there's 2 documentaries that I was involved with that hasn't been aired yet, that will be aired within the next 6 or 8 months. And there are a lot of problems with that. I'm not going to go into what's wrong with it, what happened. The government tried to squash the making or the airing of this documentary because it was entirely made around Area 51, Nellis Training Range. We filmed all on the outside perimeter, but we filmed crafts flying around, and we were charged. Well, we weren't charged, but we were accused of violating a National Security Act because even though we were outside the perimeter, we were filming stuff that was flying inside the perimeter, and that's a big court fight. And I'm not involved in any of that. I just
movie can be close to really, but you were trying to make a documentary or something like Skinwalker Ranch, trying to be very scientific.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And it's, the production company is doing it. I'm just a member of that. I mean, I was out there. I was on film a number of times, and that coincided with another thing. We actually, during this time period, we made an actual movie about Area 51, and we were allowed to film inside, but not too far inside. If you go in to the Rachel Gate, the South Rachel Gate, there's a farmhouse inside, and that used to be the Medellin Ranch. They had they would take their cattle in there. We were allowed to film there at that ranch, which is inside, a couple miles inside. But and I had 12 minutes on film. Anyways, I thought that was, but that 12 minutes, I don't know if you've ever been on a film set. 12 minutes takes like 5 days to film. Anyways, but they squashed the ending of the film. They wouldn't let us film. They got actually a restraining order against us, the government, the Air Force, because of some things that we didn't do, but other people that these they call them followers. These people that chase the film teams around, that had nothing to do with the film teams. They actually were filming things that they shouldn't have been filmed. And anyways, that's a legal battle that we'll let somebody else fight. But I'm not involved in that part of it. But that's just some of the many things I've done since 2007.
Well, you've got a lot going for you, and people just don't understand the fame happening in the UFO business, but it's a big industry. And I thought after COVID-19 and the big political upheaval between, America's voting parties, but it seems to be in the UFO community, we really did sort of split. And I'm independent as a journalist, and as far as that goes, but I think we need to have more people that are just not doing politics in the UFO business. But that's my own personal opinion. I'm entitled to it. But with you and me, we were in uniform, and we know we're Americans, and we know the culture and the cyberspace culture, and now with cybersecurity, and we want what's best for America, and we want what's best for everybody. But meritocracy has been the key thing for everybody, and we wouldn't know how to operate without meritocracy, which we use in the military and law enforcement and in government and everything else. So, this public relations work and disclosure, we have to start looking at alienology separate from ufology, or the study of UFOs, versus the study of aliens. And I wanted to know seriously how you feel about extraterrestrial engagement because of the orbs I told you about. And I know that Earl Benowitz, what was his name? Benowitz? Paul Benowitz felt about, but he actually did see some orbs. And I know at the end of your work in the military, and I know how that is because you and I get put in the same category a lot that I don't appreciate, but that's how I grew in this business, because I never came out, and I stayed men in black or woman in black or behind disclosure or outside the loop for many, many years. So by the time I was running for UFO Digest, only people could think of in the military that was coming out speaking about UFOs was you, basically. So you had that cover, but they all thought you were strictly, they don't understand being in uniform, out of uniform, or disclosure, or counterterrorism. And I know what you were doing, plus the fact that he did, later on, you said, no, he saw some orbs, right? Can you tell us a bit about that?
Well, don't have a whole lot of time, but I was at Paul Benowitz's house with Jerry Miller and another agent, and we witnessed an orb flying around inside his house.
Oh, yeah.
And we witnessed it, and we couldn't explain it. Our technical people couldn't explain it, but we witnessed it. And it flew around for about 30 some seconds, and then went back to where it started. We kind of thought Paul did it, but we investigated, and Paul didn't do it. We don't know where it came from.
Good for you. Well, I did too. That's why it was very important. That's part of who I am, and I want to make sure that that's not any other ET that you can mention that you personally, because that's a personal account that makes you an experiencer. Anything?
No, I don't have any. That's not one of my specialties as far as that goes. There are other people within the intelligence community that handle those type of things, but not me.
Well, you're not disconnected from being an experiencer, are you?
No, I don't. I never witnessed anything. As a kid, my brother and I and my dad went camping once. We saw something in the air, and my brother was the UFO, but not he. We called him because he read all the George Adamski books and the True magazines and all that, and I was more content to reading Zane Grey, and so I during my career, I've never had a face-to-face with an extraterrestrial. I've never seen one other than on a closed circuit television camera while I was out at Area 51. I did a whole episode on that in Gaia. I've not ever had a face-to-face or any kind of experiencing or abduction or anything like that. Now, I investigated abductions while I was in Kirtland, but I've never experienced anything like that. So I let people that have more knowledge in that arena of it being an experience or a contactee or an abductee talk about that stuff, because I'm just not I'm just not educated enough in that arena to intelligently discuss those things.
What about the psychic side of the business? Remote viewing or psychic, either one? Remote, psychic, medium, any kind of intelligence on that with our Stargate program?
Well, I worked for Dr. Putoff.
That's what I was thinking.
And we had remote viewers come and go, and this is the 90s.
Wow.
And we witnessed. I witnessed some things, or I should say, I listened to the remote viewers talk to me after they remote viewed Mars or something like that. Now, as an intelligence officer, when I went to Germany, I used remote viewing. I didn't know what I was, but I used it. And now, today, right now, there's no such thing as remote viewing anymore. They changed it to a new technique called thought projection acquisition, TPA, and the CIA developed that in 2009 or 10, and send people for a year of training in that. And I, as I understand, although I'm not a remote viewer and experiencer, it's different than remote viewing.
They don't give them coordinates today. They don't give coordinates like the Army does and all of that.
No, they don't.
Well, there's so much we could talk about, Rick. You know that. Of course, you're already doing it for everybody else. I appreciate you doing it for me. And I know that we'd love to see you in Vegas at the alien event. If we do, we do. If we don't, we don't. We've got Travis Taylor maybe come. Jesse Marcel may come. We don't know who's going to show up, folks, because we're going to discuss some stuff that nobody else has discussed before. So we hope you come. And Rick, I don't know if you'll be able to come back and see me again. I hope you will, because these are short and I could interview you on all kind of things. You know, we can do that. So you think maybe sometime in the future, if you've got time, because you're such a hard man to catch, it took me about 12 years to get you.
Well, just when you were trying to contact me, I was traveling in Mexico, and there's the internet connections down there. If you only have a cell phone traveling in Mexico and you don't have an air card, you're not going to always get somebody contact you. So I spent 18 days down there on a very, 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 very incredible assignment, so to speak, with a film crew, and we filmed some things on there that are quite extraordinary, similar to what happened some years ago when we went down to Honduras and we actually filmed an exorcism. And so it was that. So it'll come out sometime. This particular documentary that we filmed, that it won't be. It'll be probably a year or so.
Spooky and unexplained on us.
Well, I tell you, if you were there and witnessed what I witnessed, I mean, not much scares me. I mean, I went through a lot. I'm not a Vietnam veteran, but during my missions as a combat controller, I went through quite a bit. And then during my agent days, OSI agents, we did some crazy things, especially in Germany. But to sit and watch something like what I saw, and we're talking real time. It's not like sitting and watching a movie or a film or a video or YouTube. This is real time. I mean, you're actually witnessing something occurring that is unexplainable. I mean, I didn't have an explanation for it.
Good.
But,
I like that.
That'll come later. Yeah, I'll come back on your show when we, when I get a chance.
Thank you.
Teresa.
Well, I can think of a whole bunch of things. I mean, I didn't get even a millionth, and I see people all the time on Facebook. I've got this for you, Rick. I need this. And I just saw today people are going, "Oh, I've got these questions for you, Rick." So, folks, all I can tell you is keep up with Rick Doty. Do you have it something like Skinwalker Ranch for Rick Doty on Facebook? Like, I've got so many I can't keep up with them. So
I just have my regular name, Rick Doty. I'm on Facebook. I had a really, really unique website, but somebody hacked it. I got another site January of this year, and the person that created it for me actually was my agent's person. My agent got said this can't be hacked. Well, lo and behold, it was hacked. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. It was a great. Fortunately, they weren't able to get anything out of it because I had a list of all these documents people could log on and get and free. I wasn't charging anything, and then these bad people get on and do that. So I'm on Facebook. I'm on X. Ricky Ticky is my Twitter handler, and that's it. I'm not on Instagram or any other.
Oh, wow. So Ricky Kiki, you better spell that because I'm not even your friend on Twitter, or send it to me.
It's Ricky Ticky, RICKY TICKY. Ricky Ticky.
Ricky Ticky. Okay.
166.
Well,
and also, I have an email. I can give you my email. I get hundreds of emails, but I try to answer every single one of them.
Are you kidding me? I can't. You can't do it. I can't do it. Well, God bless you.
Well, it takes me a long time to do it. I'm not saying an email, I'm going to respond immediately. But the top end, TOPPAN 166 at gmail.com, and you have that, Teresa. You can send me an email with questions. I get probably 200 a week. I eventually get to all of them. And it's me. It's not my agent. I used to have my agent share, but he doesn't know how to answer the way I would. But so I mean, he's a good agent. But I'll answer. So now I'm trying to do it all. It takes me a long time to get to them, sometimes weeks, but I do answer all of them eventually.
Well, I'm going to endorse you because Rick, folks, all these years that I've known about Rick or talked to him, phone, emails, when he's in business meetings, when he's with secret people, he's been the greatest person. He has never ignored me. He has always taken care of business with me. He got back to me. Of course, he can never be with me, but for reasons of contracts or books or whatever. But the kind of business I was in was just about, writing books and promoting ET extraterrestrial and disclosure and all of that. So that's what I do. But hopefully Rick will come back, and we're going to try to keep this going and help Rick Doty promote whatever he is doing, along with Travis Taylor and Jesse Marcel and certain people that know me because I'm older than dirt. So I'm coming back, and I'll be glad to do it. I was prior Navy, and I worked all over the place. A lot of y'all know that. A lot of it I can't tell you about. But it's fun because we're finding each other and putting the pieces together. So God bless you, Rick Doty. I hope that we can have you back again whenever it works out. We're not going to push him. It's going to be synergy, and we'll help him any way we can. Now, Rick, where do we find you on Gaia? Do we have to go pay money on Gaia to get to Rick Doty? I don't know.
Unfortunately, you have to subscribe to Gaia, and then when you subscribe to Gaia, you can watch as many episodes. You can binge watch me or anybody else. There's a whole number of different shows on Gaia that are really fascinating. The deep space episode, cosmic disclosure, the alien. There's all sorts of programming that really is interesting.
Who owns that, by the way? Corey Good put it on the map for me when I was doing in 2019. I'd never heard of Gaia, and I was at a conference, and somebody asked me all about, do you know Corey Good? And I said, well, Corey talks to me on LinkedIn. Is that what that Corey's saying? Corey Good with the avian? They're like, yeah. And then I saw it on the avian people on the alien resident alien. And I was like, wow. But then I also heard all the other stuff about, lawsuit producers and contact and all that. So I don't know what's going on, folks. Only what we read is that you read it on the internet. It must be true. I don't know. So, Rick, what do we do? How do I send you money to get on this Gaia thing?
Send me just you just go on Gaia.com and subscribe to it. And once you have a subscription to it, and they'll ask in there who was recommended it. Just put my name down. Okay. I don't get money for it, but I get points, so to speak. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they pay me very well, so I don't need any money from anybody.
Gaia TV? I still don't know who Gaia TV.
Gaia is an entity. Gaia is a programming that was started in 2010 by just a group of people. It's grown to a multi-million-dollar outfit. It's owned by boards of directors, and
is it an LLC, like open?
Yeah.
LLC or something.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Okay, we can find it.
And their office is in Boulder, Colorado.
Okay.
Everything is their main office and all their film studios are in Boulder, Colorado. I mean, they have a satellite location in Los Angeles, but most everything is in Boulder, and that's where I go to film. Well, most of them we have filmed other places, but most everything is done at the big studio there at Gaia in Boulder.
Well,
Colorado.
I'm sure I'd like to know that there's a lot of people that don't know what Gaia is, and there's some that do. And so some of the event people may know, but I never went to an event until I spoke at a couple of times. So I got asked to speak, and people thought I was part of Gaia, and I had no idea what they were talking about. They said, Curry, good. And that's how I knew. But now I know you're with Gaia, and you say we can join. How much will it cost us to see you? $5, $10?
I don't. You know, it's a yearly subscription.
Oh, okay.
You can do. I think you can do month, 3 months, or yearly. And I'm sorry, I should know what that is.
You're not,
but
in
I don't. But it's it was. I think I misspoke. It was founded in 1988. It's an American media company. It operates Gaia TV and over-the-top subscriptions of videos, and it has a blend of yoga, meditation, personal transformation, alternative healing. I mean, just many, many, many programs. I tell you, you'll find something. Even I watch it just because, not necessarily because of the UFO related stuff, but there's all sorts of other things. I've never really dealt in the consciousness, the study of
consciousness. That's what I'm really into.
Yeah.
Neuro.
Well, I'm into it now. I was never before, and there's a number of programming on Gaia that really delves into that, and I like that. So I recommend it. I really recommend it.
OA and oh my God, we watched that, man. Anything to do with the consciousness, the higher, and the connection, and other dimensions and UFOs.
Right. Yes.
So we're tired of seeing aliens eat you, grah grah grah.
Yeah. Right. Right.
ET phone home kind of stuff, you know. So right. You guys going to do ET friendly, and yes, we are Disclosure, and all of us are them.
Oh, they do. They have it. They have everything. Okay. And again, also I have in another entity, UAMN TV. I have a contract with them, and that's the Doty Chronicles. The Doty Chronicles are on there.
Aren't they on YouTube?
Yeah, the Doty Chronicles. Right now there's 12 episodes, and there eventually will be. I'm on contract to do 30 or 35. I'm not sure, but I'll have the film by the end of the year.
Do us lower middle class to poor, like on the street people in Austin that can't afford all that, do we have to pay for that too?
No, actually, Doty Chronicles you can get on YouTube, and as far as I know, they're free. So
okay, yay YouTube! All right, well, I still love YouTube, folks. Now we'll be on Rumble too. I'm just getting set up for all our people. A lot of people won't watch me on YouTube. They won't watch me on Rumble because they know I'm old, and I'll always tell them the truth. So you know me, I've always given you lightworkers and truth seekers, and we do all the mystics, oracles, psychics, sages, seers, and we do investigators, researchers, and people like Rick. So Rick is a bona fide, I can swear to you, without seeing his paperwork, although he would show it to me, that he is a bona fide intelligence officer, and we have intelligencereform.org that we're working on. So folks, stay with the global, and we're going to have those in space and those taking care of the planet, right? That's all we got left. So here or there. So choose. It's a choice. We'll leave it to you. Thank you, Rick Doty. You're a wonderful speaker. I can tell you're well matured into this lifestyle you've chosen. I hope that you get everything you've ever asked for. And I hope you realize that we do have alien civilizations existing, okay? And we want you to be one of our big heroes and one of our flag wavers. I guess you're doing it on Gaia TV and UAMN, right?
Yes, I am.
Thank you, Rick.
Well, thank you for having me.
We went over, folks. We apologize. We'll get that cleared up, but we hope to have him back. Thank you. Did a great job.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay.